Hey, welcome to November 2019 Reiki Call. I'm Karen Harrison, and my website is www.karenharrison.net. I have an iTunes podcast called Reiki Call, and also find me on YouTube at Karen Harrison Reiki. So I have other videos about Reiki that you can find there. And I'm excited to share and be with you all. This is a time to see how everyone's doing, to get your questions answered, to have some Reiki discussion, and to send each other Reiki. So it's a great way to practice, especially for the students that I have yet to meet, or ones that are in cities where I don't have an in-person Reiki share. So welcome. And I've got somebody from 816 area code that has just joined us. Can I get your first name?
Tom.
Tom. Okay.
Tom.
All right. Oh, is this Tom Cowherd?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Glad you could be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and if you have a lot of background noise, then what you might do is hit the mute button and then unmute it whenever you want to speak.
Okay.
That'll make it easier. So, welcome. I want to start off with your questions, and let's see, is it Megan or Megan? You sent me a question. How do I say your name? Okay, maybe she doesn't have sound. Okay, well, if you do have sound, you can join in, but or you can always hit the chat button if you don't have sound. So Megan sent me in a question that said, I want to get your opinion and perspective on a situation. A lady was attuned to Reiki 1 and 2 for the past 2 years, and she continues to heal herself and family and friends. And a few months ago, she was called to be a Reiki master. And then she found some opportunities to teach Reiki to others and to give sessions, but she has nowhere to have them. So she asked her Reiki master if she could rent their facility. And the teacher wanted this lady first to work on, I guess, several people there, so she could feel their energy. And Megan's question was, well, she'd already learned from this teacher, and the student felt kind of uncomfortable about that and didn't respond. And then the Reiki master teacher said that I guess you're not ready and this is not your path. And that really upset the lady. And then how would you handle a situation like this, and what advice would you give to the female Reiki master? So Megan, do you have any sound yet? See if you want to provide any additional input on this. Okay, maybe not. So whenever someone is going to rent space from somebody, it's pretty normal for the person that is going to rent space to offer to give a free Reiki session. That doesn't mean many free Reiki sessions. And if it's your teacher that you've studied with, and Megan also clarified that the teacher had asked her to co-teach a class with her, then I would think that that Reiki master would already be very familiar with her energy.
Okay.
Kind of surprised that, she would ask her for a session or ask her for multiple sessions. I'm not sure why that would be necessary. And then the comment about, I guess you're not ready and this is not your path, that just seems rather mean-spirited to me. And in the Reiki, the International Center for Reiki Training, we have Reiki Ethics. And from the Reiki Ethics, one of the things we have is support. Have a friendly, positive regard towards your clients and students, and openly encourage them to heal and to do the best job possible with their Reiki practice and or teaching program. So, you know, encouraging them to do well, you know, without perhaps making them jump through a lot of hoops to do that. That was my response. Anybody else have any input or comments about that? And is that something you've run into?
This is Tom.
Yes.
Hello.
Uh-huh.
I haven't run into that, but I understand. I agree with what you say. It should just be a simple thing, one time or something like that, rather than several times.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what the person's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, is the Alcatel 5044R, is that also Megan? Okay. It sounds like she's saying it was a male, not a female teacher. Well,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that I'd still handle it the same way.
Yeah.
It still seems like a strange, you know, thing to say that, you know, you want multiple
Right.
sessions to be given to feel the energy when this is your student that you taught and co-taught a class with. Just not sure why that would be necessary. Megan, you have any other comments about that? Now, in general, as a Reiki master, we want to encourage our students to teach and to do the best job they can with their Reiki, and to help them be successful. You know, the more Reiki that we have in the world, you know,
The bear.
and Evelyn, I'm going to put you on mute because we got some.
Your phone? No, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Did you have
I just see you. I don't see anything else, so I cannot comment anything.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I thought I heard background noise, but I'd certainly welcome your input if you have some input or thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Do any of you have any questions? I always like to take the questions on the call first before I address the ones that I got, you know, by email.
Well, you had sent me a deal about raking the medicine that I take,
Yes.
and I have done that. And the first time I did it, I had a great reaction, but then it turned back. So I just keep doing it in hopes that it will follow through.
Yeah. So you were able to not have the side effects from the medication.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 days, and then it came back.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah. So maybe you need to Reiki it some more.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to do is I like to chant the names of the Reiki symbols into the medicine jar.
Okay.
So I would just
All right.
hold it and then chant the name of the power symbol and the middle emotional symbol, and just hope that that vibration would be penetrating the medication and further
Sure.
helping to boost it, and with the intent also of clearing out any side effects.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Evelyn, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Or would anyone like to share any experiences that you've had with giving Reiki?
Well, I've already shared with you my experience with my wife. She got pancreatic cancer a
Mm-hmm.
year and a half ago, and I prayed for her at least 2 or 3 days for a year and a half, and she's no longer has cancer. She had a operation, a ripple surgery, and they were able to take a lot of her body out, but she's not doing that. So I continue to do that, and for the last 5 scans, her cancer marker has gone down to 30 from 250. So I don't know. I can't,
Wow.
I can't prove that I did it, but I really think I've involved so much that I have done a lot of good.
Uh-huh.
If she gets something going on, something small, I can pick it up on her body, and it'll be gone in a couple of days.
Well, that's awesome, so
So
I think, just give the glory to Reiki and God, and,
yeah,
be thankful for being a conduit of it. Are you the one that sent me the question about scanning her to look for heat, and then
right.
the spot becomes
Because
normal?
I was telling you, I can't scan above her body, so I have to touch her skin. And every night when I do it, like if she's covered up watching TV shows, so it'll be heat a little bit. So it takes me like, I don't know, 20 minutes to cool out her whole body. So I don't
Mhm.
feel anything. It works every night.
Well, what a blessing. And
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a perfectly fine way to scan. In Biosin scanning, we teach about scanning over the body about 4 inches, but,
Yeah.
certainly you can pick up sensations with your hand on the body, and oftentimes those are stronger sensations than when you have your hand over the body.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what happens to me. Yeah.
uh-huh. Well, that's awesome, and what a gift to give to your wife, and that's also good for the relationship, because that's a really loving way to connect with your wife.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if I told you this, I pray for animals and everything else. And there's been some people that sent me pictures of their animals, and I can help them as well. So I've
Uh-huh.
helped a lot of animals as well as people over the years that I've been doing this.
Great. Would you like to share an animal story?
Well, let's see which one. There's my wife's daughter had a dog that had a problem with the back leg. So I scanned the thing from the house here in different states, and I picked up the right leg had a problem in it. So I Reiki'd that, and it took a little while, but it went away. And she also did go to the hospital, but they really couldn't finish it. So I think I finished it, and she's fine now.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
that's one. I've worked on horses and all kinds of things, and this work. My son had a dog that he took it to the vet, and they said you're terminal, and she's got about 2 hours to live. So I prayed for him over and over again, through the night, and he lived 6 more years.
Wow. So you prayed and did Reiki too?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I'd say when I say pray, I say Reiki. That's prayer. That's my praying.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of think of Reiki as embodied prayer, because
Yeah, that's what I do.
generally,
Yeah.
generally prayers are short, a minute or two. But with
Yeah,
Reiki, we are holding that energy intention usually for a longer period of time, and
sure.
it may have more opportunity to work.
Right.
So dogs, horses. Great. Well, with the last name of Cowherd, have you given Reiki to any
Yeah.
cows?
I didn't have to. I haven't had any cows. We had cows on the property next to where we had our farm. We just had horses on the farm, but I never had to do one of those.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You know, I would attempt to Reiki anything
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that it could work on anything.
Yes. Well, I've had students that had a sheep farm and a goat farm.
Uh-huh.
So they've given Reiki to the sheep and to the goats. And then I've had other people that are growing blueberries or lavender give Reiki. And recently, a student was talking about harvest out in Kansas, and I suggested that she send Reiki to the harvest for it to all go smoothly and easily. And, she'd never thought of that. So, yeah, Reiki everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I had a really interesting question come in that I wanted to share with you from someone who said that I've scheduled a Reiki 2 class for mid-November. 2 students from Reiki 1 want to attend, but I want to address standards of dress for Reiki classes. The 2 people are married and show promise of being good practitioners. They are nudists, and the wife came to class dressed in a tank top and skirt and nothing else. So she said I was uncomfortable working with her, and another male student in the class was very uncomfortable. And then another female student in the class didn't want to take Reiki 2 with this couple because of the way they were dressed. It was in August and it was hot. Are there any dress codes established that I should reference them to? Or should I just hope for the best since it'll be November and much colder? And I don't have a problem with their nudist lifestyle. I just don't want people to think that you have to be undressed to have a Reiki session. Yeah. What should I do? Address it or just ignore it? So, that's a very interesting question. So I wrote back, the one option would be to give them their own class. In the ICRT, we do have standards of professional conduct, but there's nothing about a dress code. You could hope for the best, or you could say something like it would be helpful to the other students to make it more comfortable for them to give you Reiki, as some have modesty issues. That would be kind of pinning the issue back on the other people, without any blame. Or you could cover all the students with a sheet to receive their Reiki session. So those were my ideas. What would you all do in that situation?
I'm probably going to have everybody covered with sheet because that's usually what I do. And I never had this happening.
Uh-huh. Yeah, cover them with the sheet. That'll take care of it. Okay. Sorry, I already addressed that. It was Megan's question. And I'm not sure about this other question about sharing it. I'm still waiting for the person to get back to me if it was okay to share. Okay. All right, someone asked me if they could get an example letter to send out to become licensed to offer continuing education credits. Are there particular agencies you would recommend contacting? I'd like to possibly offer, continuing education for nurses, vet tech, and massage. And how long does it take? So Recently, in the last year, the agencies that offer Reiki CEs have gotten a lot stricter. And formerly, we were offering CEs for a number of professions. It's gotten reduced and reduced to now the ICRT is only offering CEs for Reiki 1 massage. And then we have a generic form that we can offer to any health professionals. But there's a general trend nationwide to reduce allowing CEs from on subjects that are not directly related to the profession. Now, that doesn't mean that your profession wouldn't accept them. You know, for example, I'm a counselor, and if I took someone else's Reiki class, I could have the teacher fill out a form, and then I could submit it with my CE documentation for potential credit. However, it would be a little risky if I were relying on all those hours, because if they didn't accept it, then that could be a problem. So, you know, it might be good to send it into the licensing board in advance to make sure that they are going to accept it before waiting to renew it and then just hoping that you don't get audited. So for example, with my licensing profession, we don't have to send anything in anymore, but they do a random audit, and I've been audited, gosh, several times where I had to send in my entire form. And then if your form isn't in order, then your license could be in jeopardy, or you could have some sort of bad consequences for it, depending on your license. So the agencies that were, you know, formally offering them, like Commonwealth Educational, I think it was Commonwealth Education. They were offering CEs for a lot of different professions for Reiki, and they are not doing that anymore. Now, what you can do if you want to offer CEs is write directly to the state board for the professions that you want to offer the CEs for, and ask for their packet of information, fill it out, send it back in, pay any fees if they have any fees, and then you can be authorized to give CEs if they approve it. And how long does that take? I've seen some of that paperwork, and sometimes it seems rather daunting. You know, depending on the state, it might be anywhere from a couple hours to 2 days of figuring out what to put down on all the forms. And then it might be free, or there might be a fee. So you would just have to write each profession and see what the requirements are. Have any of you applied for, you know, to be a CE provider? Okay, well, I know a few of my students have done it. I find it much simpler just to use a generic CE form that verifies, you know, here's the name of the class that you attended, here's the hours of the class, you know, it went from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. You know, this is the title of the class, and then sign it verifying that you attended, and then tell the person that they can turn that in for potential credit. Okay, another question I got was, if I have 3 clients, one after the other, what steps for preparing for the session can I skip? Like powering up the room, powering up myself, etc. Should I have the client take off the jewelry before the session? And if sometimes my body feels heat in some places on my client, is it normal, or do I need extra protection? So, okay, that was several questions. So when I go into the office, I'll often do one session after the other. So I power up the room once. I power up myself with either the power symbol or the holy fire symbol over my trunk and over each chakra going all the way up. And I power up my hands. I only power up my hands again if I stop and take a break, you know, like I take an hour dinner break, and then I'll power up my hands again. So you don't have to do all of that. Now, regarding jewelry, the only time I have a person take off jewelry is if they have like a big clunky necklace that would interfere with my scanning. Another good thing to do is to have the person take off a belt if they have a belt buckle, because for one, that metal can give me different results on the scanning, and two, if the person turns over, that belt buckle could puncture my massage table. So I'll have them take off their belt. And then if you feel heat in your body, in some places on your client, that just means that you're an empath and your body is telling you where you need to go work and do Reiki. So that's one of the benefits of being an empath. It might be one of the challenges, because if you feel discomfort, you know, that you're picking up from your client, it's helpful to realize that this is not yours and that you can let it go. So for empaths, I suggest tuning into yourself prior to the Reiki session and noticing how your body feels. That way, if all of a sudden when you're giving Reiki, you start having a shoulder pain, you can just assume that it's your client's body communicating with you and saying, go give Reiki there, you know, to that shoulder. And then give Reiki there until the heat and the pulsation in the hands decreases. So do any of you feel sensations in your body when you're giving Reiki to someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so Evelyn, you do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel yeah. Sometimes some discomfort, shooting pain somewhere happen occasionally.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know that it's your client's pain and not yours?
Because I didn't have any before.
Okay, good answer. Okay, so then, and then how do you get rid of it?
Reiki myself.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, give Reiki to yourself, and then you can also ground and intend to release it into the ground. Okay, Megan says, yes, my palms will pulse very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, when the energy is flowing really well, then there's more pulsation in the hands, and generally the hands are getting warmer also when the energy is flowing very well. And if the energy isn't flowing as well, then there may not be as much pulsation in the hands, and the hands may be colder. That can be a sign there's a block. And then you just need to give Reiki there longer. Okay, and Megan says she'll feels a lot of heat, but the client feels the hands as cool. Well, that is one of the fascinating things about Reiki. And I've heard this from other students, that sometimes the giver's hands will feel hot to the giver and cool to the receiver, or more commonly, they'll feel cool to the giver and hot to the receiver. So it can work any of those ways, and you know, I don't really worry about that. The thing that I'm really more interested in is, you know, how much like pulsation and tingling do I feel? If I feel, a lot, then that means the energy is flowing. If I don't feel very much, then I might ask the client to intend to be a sponge and soak up the energy so that it'll flow stronger. Because I want the client to get the most benefit from the session, and if they're able to accept and absorb more Reiki energy, then that should provide a better result for the client.
I have a comment, Tom.
Sure.
When I do, my wife, I do Reiki. When I start, my hands are cold, and she says, "Wow, it's really cold." After a while, my hands are warm when I start, even when I start out. After a while, her body will become warm to her, and my hand will be cold to me. Makes sense? That makes sense?
Wow.
So
So
when I get rid of the problem, my hand turns cold. The heat goes away. That might take 3 or 4 minutes. So that's the way it works for me.
okay, so your hands feel warm, but then when you're done in that spot, then your hands turn cold.
Yes. And that's when I assume that I've gotten rid of the problem in that area. So I'll go around her body, chest and so forth, where her problem was, or wherever it is, on her back or shoulder. And that's the way it works for me. As soon as it turns cool, then I assume that I've taken care of it. Now, if it doesn't go away and I work for it for 15, 20 minutes, I'll say, well, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to try tomorrow. And then usually by 2 days or so, it'll go away. Sometimes it doesn't always go away the first time.
Well, that's excellent. Yay.
Yeah.
Yes. When the hands, if the hands were warm and they start getting cold, that means that part of the body has absorbed the energy that it needs, and you can go on to another spot.
Right.
Yeah. Good. So I tell people Reiki works on a bell curve. When you start off, there's like maybe a little tingling, cooler, then more pulsations, warmer, and then when it starts to decrease in temperature and get cooler, less pulsing, then that means you can move on to the next spot.
Right. Okay.
So, bell curve Reiki. All right. Great. I love having input and discussion. It makes a lot more interesting. So thank you all for being here. And any other questions or comments? I mean, I have more questions, but I also want to allow some time for distance Reiki for each other. Okay, well, let's intend to power up our hands with Reiki, with whatever symbols that you have. And I'm just going to look at my hands and visualize them. And then let's intend to send Reiki to everyone on this call, and also to anyone that watches it later, along with sending Reiki to world problems, any hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, to our political leaders, for them to be guided by God to make good decisions for the highest benefit of all concerned. And also sending Reiki to all people to relieve suffering on the planet, so that everyone has food for all, shelter for all, love for all, healing for all, and all of their needs met. Okay, so now we'll just take some time in the silence to send Reiki, and then I'll come back in about 20 minutes and we'll wrap up. So let's bring our Reiki to a close. We are grateful for the gift of Reiki and for each of you joining on this call and the blessing of that energy. That felt wonderful. Hope you all could feel it too.
Yep.
Yep.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be sending out an email with this recording to everyone that is on my Reiki Call email list, and then putting it on my website on KarenHarrison.net under Reiki Call, and uploading it to the iTunes podcast called Reiki Call. So thank you all for making it a success. And I was looking at the calendar for December, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get one scheduled in December because I am going to a Reiki retreat at William Rand's house that he's offering for the licensed teachers of the International Center. And I'll be there for about 10 days. And then as soon as I get back, we're right into Christmas week. So I don't think Christmas week is necessarily a good time to have it. So we'll see how that goes. But if not, join me again in January. And I look forward to connecting with you. Feel free to continue to send in your questions and comments and experiences. I appreciate your input, and I appreciate having something meaningful to talk about. Your questions.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you all, and Reiki blessings.
Blessing
Merry
to
Christmas.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
That's coming up
Yes.
next.
Mm-hmm.